Hey, good afternoon, Liberty North AP Psych testers. So I hope you had a good weekend. Seniors, hope you enjoyed your last weekend of K through 12 school. Yeah, today and tomorrow are it. So congratulations. Great job, and wish you guys the best and everything. You guys are going to be very flexible. Psychologically moving forward. You guys are going to be able to deal with a lot of stuff because, yeah, this year was crazy. So well done. And if you want to get out your AP learning targets or just your notes or your notebook, we're going to be going over chapter 12 and 13. So this is review session number 9. Tomorrow we'll finish up. We're just kind of going over the learning targets and just the basic information, curriculum that might be on the test. And then tomorrow we'll do 14 and 15 and we'll be done. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we'll start looking at just make sure you've been practicing the short answer, the free response all second semester. So hopefully you're good at that and ready to do that, feel comfortable. But we'll go over some practice tests and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So today's going to actually be very short because this is another area that's really only like 2 to 4% of most of the AP exams, AP Psych exams. So chapter 12 and 13, which I think are a part of, if you go to your learning targets, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all in the same doc or section. So, and they're labeled on your AP learning targets, but 12 and 13 are historically very, very small. Again, that 2 to 4% range on the AP test. And again, vocab is really what you need to kind of study and focus on here. If you know the vocab, you're familiar with it, and you can apply it, then you're going to be good. So have up here, we'll do 12 first, which is motivation. Okay. AP learning targets, and I have vocab circled because, again, that's going to be the main thing. If you could just go by it, and the vocab's not very big on either one. It's really, really short on chapter 13, which is emotion. But if you can go through the vocab and things make sense, you know the names, you know the terms, you're going to be fine. And just make sure you can then apply it. Okay. And there's not really too much. But again, I think that there is 2 learning targets for 13. I think there's like 4 or 5 for chapter 12. Okay. But basically, chapter 12, know nature, nurture, and cultural influences on motivation. Okay. So again, think of environmental. Think of genetic, think of culture, okay, influences on motivation. So, whether that be, there were several biological drive theories in there. Homeostasis is a big one. You're going to need to know that term. That I would not be surprised if that term showed up because it's pretty much on every AP test. So as part of number 1, they might throw homeostasis in there on you. Okay, remember that's a nature motivation theory that our body is internally programmed by the hypothalamus to maintain a sense of balance. Okay, so drive theories, that we're driven, which would be part of homeostasis to maintain equilibrium. So any biological drive, homeostasis theory, and then your social motivators, right? Your wants, those would be the nurture side of it, okay? And you can put culture in either one of those. Don't forget Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? Now, again, those are needs. So Maslow would be here, okay? So again, don't put Maslow in nurture. Make sure that if you get the context, or if they ask you about his hierarchy of needs, that is, or if you want to use it, and some of you know it very well, make sure you use it appropriately as a nature. Again, Maslow believed that we had a self-actualizing tendency, which was genetic, okay, which we passed on, okay? So we are driven. We need to achieve self-actualization. We're all working towards that, okay? All right, so again, motivational theories, again, which is kind of what I've just touched on. We use sensation seeking as a good example. So we looked at our adrenaline junkies, right? Our base jumpers and things like that. We watched the Red Bull Stratus jump. So, that again would be, we used to think that was nurture, right? But now it's nature, we know. Okay. So there's different levels of MAO, which is an enzyme in the brain. We know that they are kind of driven. It's kind of like it's a need, it's homeostasis. Okay. All right. And then just be able to make sure you can apply any of the theories to behavior. Okay. So, this one, I think generally this one in some type of instance is used when they'll say like, okay, explain how this situation would influence the behavior or the scenario that they give you. And then they put homeostasis down there, or drive reduction theory, or social motivation theories, or Maslow's hierarchy of needs theories. So, okay, so just make sure, just look at your vocab there. I think you should be good. Okay, chapter 13. Again, there's not very many vocab at all. It's just basically surrounds the theories of emotion. Okay, so know your vocab. Now, in that, there are names. So each of the theories of emotion, like James Lang, Cannon Bard, Schachter Singer, they generally have names associated with them. So that would be the name context for chapter 13. Okay, so basically what the theories differ on is the order in which we have the experience of emotion and then our body expresses emotion. Okay, so if it says emotional expression, it's talking about our body's reaction to it. Okay, so again, they all, like, if you just base everything on the first one, which was James Lang. Okay, William James. Okay, and he basically said that we have a stimulus or we have a behavior, our body reacts, and then we experience emotion. So that one was body expression first, then experience of emotion. And then they all kind of just differ on that order. Okay, so but go back, they have that in your text. They also have the visual diagrams of those emotional theories, so make sure you look at those. James Lang, Cannon Bard, and Schachter Singer, the two-factor, are the primary ones. We also talked about facial feedback, which again, we have micro expressions or facial expressions that kick in and that create the emotion. Okay. And then don't also forget cultural and cognitive influences on emotional expression. Okay. So remember, two-factor actually adds that we label our emotion based on the situation. Then we have an expression. Okay. So what we have found scientifically is that our expressions basically have two, right? We have a sympathetic and we have parasympathetic. So how does my body know, how can it interpret what type of emotion I'm experiencing or expressing? Because there's only two choices. And all of my, emotional, intense emotions are on one side, good or bad, and all of my, sedating emotions, good or bad, are on another side. So how do I know? Well, we label it from the situation, right? The environment that we're in. Okay. Culture obviously has a huge impact on emotional expression and emotions. Just the fact that, which gender is stereotyped or normed based on being the more emotional. That would be the females. Males are supposed to hold in their emotions. You have that. You have how animated can we be in our expressions? How do we express? I think that we're going to see a huge change in that culturally. I know, people I like to just go shake people's hands and stuff like that. I don't know if I haven't done that in a while, but it's so hard for me. But I think as a culture, we'll probably be moving away from that. So there'll be some type of emotional expressions that actually change because of COVID-19. Okay. All right. And then this is where they throw body language in a little bit. But I think if you just look at your notes as far as in language, so that'd be chapter 10. We talked about power posing, body language is kind of actually, and that chapter talks about spoken and written language, but the main influence on behavior is body language, right? Remember that our brains, okay, through nature are programmed to pick up on body language and have that be the primary thing that communicates. So, if you communicate one way with your body language and another way with your verbal or your words, I'm going to go by your body language. Okay. My brain is programmed to do so, which is important because we live in a society that likes to think that they can create reality with their words, which nobody's brains are fooled by that. It's just genetic. It's just nature. It's part of survival. because I could be saying that I'm not going to harm you, but if my body language is communicating that I am going to harm you, that's kind of the situations that that we have passed down supposedly from our ancestors to help us survive. Okay. All right. So, but also just know how body language is impacted by culture as well. Okay. All right. So there are rules, there are norms on spoken and written language, and the same thing applies to body language. Okay. So examples of that, if you go back to chapter 10, we have those cultures that have, it's universal to read faces, right? So if we have a primary emotion or universal emotions, right? Those emotions that are found in every culture, every society. Okay, now there's only a few of those, right? And those have facial expressions with them, and people can identify those. But then we have hundreds of other culturally relevant emotions that, again, then influence our expression, but also our body language, okay? So, for instance, stress is an emotion that's huge. Remember, we talked about that in the United States. It's not represented in other cultures. So I naturally assign body language to stress and its communication, right? But if I communicated that body language type, I learn it, whether it's a sigh, a gasp, or a twitchy eye, or whatever, and I communicate that into a different culture than our culture, they're not going to label it as stress. Remember, they're going to label it as we talked about stress probably being a blend of fear and sadness, probably. So they're going to label it, and so their body language, they're going to read that as sadness or fear, okay? But not stress, because they don't have the word, the expression, the definition, or the concept for it, or the construct for it, okay? All right? So cultures create labeled emotions, right? And so therefore they have to identify body language, okay? In our culture, we actually learn to pick up body language that indicates somebody's stressed. Other cultures, they don't. Now, but do they create them to pick it up if they're scared or they're afraid or if they're sad? Yes, okay, but not stressed, okay? All right? Right. So again, I think the key for 12 and 13, number one, know that there's not going to be much information from 12 and 13 on the test. So probably would be one term, I'm assuming, probably on question one of your 8 tasks might be from these chapters. It might be skipped completely. But I do know homeostasis is a big one. Okay. And then they might add, just cultural with emotional expression or something like that in there. Okay. All right. All right, so tomorrow we'll finish up. We'll do stress, which is very short, and then we'll do personality, which is kind of in depth. And again, it's another name chapter. So, 4, 8, 11, and 15, okay, are your big name chapters, because again, you have names with all your personality theories, okay? All right, I will see everyone tomorrow. For those of you who took an AP test today, I think government's today, hope that went well. Good luck to you on all of your AP tests, and hope the first one went well, and it's the start of a great AP testing period throughout the nation for everybody, but especially for you guys. Okay, email me if you have any questions.